When your strength crumbles, God's power answers 3 a.m. prayer that transforms lives. The clock struck 3 a time whispered about in hushed tones. It's the hour when shadows linger longer and the veil between worlds thins. In that eerie stillness, something extraordinary happened. It was that fateful night when prayers turned into raw cries for help. Young Leah felt her heart racing, a cold sweat drenching her as she slipped out of bed. Darkness coiled around her like a shroud, thick with uncertainty. The walls of her little room felt like they were closing in, defining a battle she never signed up for. Was that a whisper she heard? A gentle breath over her shoulder, urging her to rise? It felt as if some unseen force was calling her, pulling her toward the crackling darkness outside. In her tiny town, legends danced on the edges of reality. People claimed that at this hour, miracles were born out of desperation. But the truth was scary. What if the unknown didn't come with a happy ending? A tingle swept through her fingertips as she stepped into the night, her breath hitching with every crackling leaf beneath her feet. Neighbors slept soundly as if wrapped in cotton wool, unaware of the storm swirling just beyond their dreams. Leah's hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the weight of what lay ahead. She knew something bigger was at play, a pull she couldn't ignore. Why had she been thrust into this moment? Why now? This was more than just a midnight stroll. This felt like a summons she didn't understand. As she approached the forgotten chapel at the edge of town, it loomed like a guardian from a bygone time. Its door creaked open, inviting her in like an old friend. Faded candles flickered to life as if they sensed her fear, illuminating the sanctuary with a flickering glow. It felt alive. Leah hesitated on the threshold, swallowed by heavy silence. Every heartbeat a reminder that she was not alone. All around her, the air shimmered with a mystery that prickled her skin. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Leah stepped further inside, drawn to the altar where an old book lay open, its pages filled with handwritten prayers that crackled with emotion. It was as if each letter oozed with the hopes and fears of those who had come before her. A sense of awe gripped her, and a sudden urge surged through her veins. Could this be the answer to her silent struggles? Would she find strength where her own was slipping away? As she knelt, every sound faded, consumed by the mounting tension. But then a chill swept through the room, caressing her neck, raising every hair on her arms. What was that? Whispers rose, swirling in a dance she could barely comprehend, like unseen hands pulling her into something deeper, something both terrifying and beautiful. Leah gasped, the whole world around her spinning, as a shadow flickered across the chapel, and suddenly, she wasn't alone. The question lingered in the air, heavy with suspense. Who, or what, awaited her in this hour of desperation? And was she ready to confront it, whatever it might be? The shadow twisted and turned, a silhouette that danced just beyond Leah's sight. Her breath hitched, every ounce of courage she had been gathering slipping away faster than sand through her fingers. A figure emerged slowly, its form taking shape from the dim light of the flickering candles. Her heart raced even faster, pounding her chest like a wild drum. Leah. The voice echoed, soft yet resonant, as if it came from deep within the chapel's very foundation. The sound wrapped around her like a familiar blanket, igniting a flicker of recognition amidst her panic. You come seeking answers. Her legs felt rooted to the ground, a chill snaking through her veins as the figure stepped closer. It was a woman, dressed in an ethereal gown that shimmered with an inner light. Leah could hardly take her eyes off her. The woman's wide eyes bore wisdom that felt both comforting and unnerving. "I've been waiting for you." "Waiting for me?" Leah managed to stammer, her voice trembling under the weight of the moment. "Yes," the figure replied, gesturing toward the altar. "You stand at a crossroads. Your strength is waning, but in your vulnerability lies potential for transformation." The woman waved her hand over the old book, causing the pages to flip rapidly, then stop on a page that glowed with an intense silver light. Leah hadn't realized how desperately she needed guidance until this moment. "But who are you?" she asked, the trembling in her voice replaced by a curious urgency. "I am but a messenger," the woman replied with a serene smile. "And I bring tidings of courage, for you have a choice to make. You can embrace this darkness or illuminate it with the light of your spirit." She reached out, and Leah instinctively stepped back. Fear clawed at her insides, an instinctual urge to flee. But that flicker of hope ignited by the woman's presence urged her to reconsider. "What do you mean? How can I illuminate darkness?" The apparition tilted her head slightly, as if gauging Leah's heart. "You must confront your fears. The midnight hour is not just a time of despair. It's a moment when the veil lifts and you can seize control. Eyes closed will only lead you deeper into shadows." A sudden gust whipped through the chapel, extinguishing the candles and casting them into utter darkness. Panic surged in Leah's chest. "No, please." She instinctively shut her eyes, hoping to shield herself from the encroaching dread. "Face it," the voice commanded through the black void. "Your weaknesses, your doubts, they will not consume you if you stand firm. You are stronger than you know." Heat prickled at the back of Leah's eyes. Overwhelming emotions surged through her: fear, doubt, and a desperate hope longing to break free. With a trembling breath, she slowly reopened her eyes. The candlelight flickered back to life, illuminating the chapel as if her resolve had ignited a flame within the darkness. The woman stood before her, now more radiant than before, a beacon of light amidst shadows. "You see, Leah, your journey transcends this moment. The time has come to unlock your true potential. Will you?" Just then, the shadows beyond the chapel seemed to ripple, dark tendrils reaching out as if to reclaim her. Her heart thundered madly, each moment suspended in an eternal second. Could she really step into that light? Or would she let fear dictate her fate? "Choose," the woman urged, her voice filling every corner of the sanctuary. The air crackled with tension, fading to silence. Leah stood at a precipice, her heart racing, the weight of the world upon her fragile shoulders. The choice was hers, and she felt every pulse of that singular moment. What lay ahead? Would she summon the power within her? Or would she succumb to the very darkness she feared? The shadows lingered, watching and waiting. Leah's answer hung heavily in the air, an echo of her resolve awaiting its moment. The choice lay before Leah like the edge of a cliff, tempting and terrifying all at once. She felt the shadows tugging at her, their cold fingers wrapping around her ankles. With every passing second, the woman's radiant light flickered as if battling against the dark tide that sought to drown them both. "Make your choice, Leah." The woman's voice resonated, more thunderous now, echoing through the chapel like a storm through a hollow mountain. With her heart racing, Leah closed her eyes again, feeling the heat rise in her chest. Was the hope within her real, or merely a flickering ember against the roaring darkness? The whispers around her twisted, taunting her with echoes of past failures, insecurities that clawed at her confidence. "You're not strong enough. You'll fail," the murmurs hissed. "No," she thought, grit hardening her resolve. "I want to let you win." She felt the warmth growing within her, swelling in defiance against the shadows that pressed in on all sides. Steeling herself, Leah reached out, hand trembling as she sought the woman's light. I choose to face my fears." As the words left her lips, a blinding flash erupted from the altar. The dark tendrils recoiled, shrieking as they slinked back into the corners of the chapel. The ethereal figure glowed brighter, her gown flowing like liquid silver, illuminating the sacred space with a brilliance that overshadowed the surrounding darkness. "Good," the woman exclaimed, her voice now a harmonious melody rising above the chaos. "But know this, Leah, the darkness is not vanquished with words alone. It craves your doubt, your hesitation. You must embrace the light within and wield it like a sword." Just then, the shadows began to swirl violently, like storm clouds ready to unleash their fury. Leah felt the ground beneath her tremble, the once sturdy chapel quaking in response to the conflict brewing within and without. Fear tightened its grip on her throat as she watched the darkness morph into shapes, grotesque images of her greatest anxieties. They loomed large and terrifying, faces twisted in mockery, all the time she had stumbled or felt unworthy. "Leah," the woman cried, pulling her focus back. "Remember your spirit. Repeat this. I am light. I am strength." Leah's heart thundered, but she summoned the words. "I am light. I am strength." Each repetition chipped away at the darkness enveloping her. With each affirmation, a soft glow emitted from her chest, pushing back the shadows. The fear began to splinter, revealing glimmers of hope that began to crystallize into a shimmering shield around her. "I am light. I am strength." The words flew from her lips like arrows, striking down the dark figures that surged forward. But just as Leah felt she was gaining ground, a ghostly hand shot from the shadows, clawing at her wrist, pulling her back. "You belong to us," it screamed, the voice a chilling echo of her past failures. A sharp chill coursed through her body. But as Leah struggled against the grip, she glanced back toward the woman. The light surrounding her was unwavering, a promise of hope. "I will not yield," she shouted, her voice clear and defiant. Leah took a deep breath, fueled by her newfound strength, and shoved the dark hand away. "You do not define me. I am not afraid." A brilliant surge erupted from her heart, radiating outward and engulfing the chapel in pure luminosity. The shadows hissed, retreating like animals cornered by the light. The woman smiled, standing unwavering in the blaze of Leah's emerging power. "Now, you are ready for what comes next. There are greater challenges ahead, but you must trust yourself." As the last remnants of the darkness faded, Leah felt the weight of her journey settle on her shoulders, but it no longer felt crushing. It felt like purpose. Yet, outside the chapel, a different kind of darkness threatened. A clock ticked loudly, echoing the urgency of her mission. What awaited her beyond those walls? And would the light she discovered inside be strong enough to face what lurked in the shadows of the unknown? Leah steeled herself and stepped forward. "Trust yourself, Leah," echoed the woman, just before the chapel door swung wide open, revealing a landscape painted in shadow and uncertainty. Her heart raced again, this time not solely from fear, but anticipation. What awaited her at the end of that open path? The real battle was just beginning. As Leah stepped through the chapel doors, the world outside felt like a sepulchre of darkness. Her heart thudded loudly against her ribcage as she squinted in disbelief at the scene unfurling before her. The sky hung heavy with thick clouds, casting everything in hues of gray and despair. Nights like this always felt endless, but the air was thick with something different. A smell like damp earth permeated the atmosphere, charging it with an uneasy tension. Shadows danced around her, flitting between broken tombstones in the graveyard adjacent to the chapel. Crickets chirped nervously, their symphony disrupted by the low hum of an unseen threat. "Not this again," Leah murmured to herself, gripping her sides to steady her breath. She could feel the weight of it, the looming darkness that sought to drown her again. Somehow, leaving that brightly lit chapel felt like walking out of shielded haven and into a storm. "Face it, Leah," she whispered, finding strength in her resolve. "You chose to fight." A sudden rustle caught her attention. Leah turned quickly, her heart racing. Dread crawled up her spine. Out of the shadows emerged a figure, indistinct and lurking. Its features were obscured, but the lingering chill in the air betrayed its sinister intent. It shifted closer, the flickering lantern light illuminating its edges. For a split second, Leah caught a glimpse of hollow eyes reflecting a profound sadness. "Help me," it murmured, a voice like crushed glass, steeped in anguish. Leah's breath hitched. Was this a trick? A shadow clinging to one of her darkest fears? In that moment, a battle raged in her mind. She recalled the woman from the chapel light, strength, purpose. But could she trust her instincts? "Leah," the voice whispered again, sending shivers down her core. "Join us. We can offer you peace, all of it can be yours." She shook her head vigorously, her pulse pounding in her ears. "No, you don't have power over me," she shouted, her voice cutting through the murkiness like a beacon. The shadows writhed angrily, swirling at her feet like a tempest. A flicker of something crashed around her, a wave of heat rising from her chest to her throat. She felt the light within her stir, almost eager to be unleashed. "I am light. I am strength," she asserted, and with fierce conviction, she thrust her hands forward, summoning the glow that had protected her. With her words, the air ignited around her, illuminating the shadows that had whispered lies. For a moment, they flinched, recoiling from the fiery warmth. Leah's confidence burgeoned, swelling her heart with resolve. But the figure danced back, its voice turning harsh, weaving through her thoughts like smoke. "You think your light will save you? It will blind you. What do you know of saving?" Leah shot back, grounding her feet. "All you bring is despair." As the words left her lips, the shadows surged again, forming shapes that sputtered out echoes of Leah's deepest fears. The ground thundered beneath her, and she realized they were conjuring her insecurities, amplifying them until she felt she could drown in their chaos. Faces from her past emerged, haunting her past hurts, failures, regrets, all morphing into grotesque parodies of her life. Tremors coursed through her, but Leah clenched her fists, ready to confront them. "Enough! I choose my own light. My future is not yours to claim." Each declaration pulled her inward, forging a path lit with the fire of her own spirit. As the glow enveloped her hand, she thrust it outward. Muffled cries erupted from the shadows as they flinched. But just as Leah felt empowerment surge beneath her skin, the air crackled ominously. "You may fight now, Leah, but there are thorns sown deep within the struggle. Are you prepared to bleed?" What did that mean? She blinked, an unsettling chill sweeping past her, leaving doubt lingering like storm clouds. The shadows laughed, and Leah stood at the edge of a new precipice, with uncertainties rising sharp and threatening like jagged glass. What awaited her next? Would embracing her light shatter the very foundation of her? Resolve? With the world darkening around her once more, Leah prepared for the next wave, determined, but the question was, at what cost? The shadows moved like a living entity, swirling around Leah in a choreography of menace and mockery. A wave of dread crashed over her as she faced the embodiment of her doubts. Their laughter echoed in her ears, a cacophony of ghosts from her past, a haunting melody that tugged at her heart with each cruel note. "Thorns?" she whispered, her voice trembling as she sought to reassert her power. "What do you know of pain?" At that moment, the ground beneath her shifted violently. Leah stumbled, but quickly regained her footing, fighting the tide of despair that threatened to pull her under. Her heart raced. Every instinct screamed at her to run, yet something deep within dared her to stand firm. "Look closer," the figure murmured, the shadows slithering closer, like serpents seeking to constrict her resolve. "You wish to fight with light, yet the darkness knows your name. It calls to you." Leah felt a cold sweat break out along her brow. The air crackled with energy, tinged with desperation. She could feel her breath quicken, her chest tightening with every passing second. The figure stepped forward, barely visible in the dim glow that encircled her. "You know this darkness," it hissed, and with every chilling word, Leah could see flickers of memories igniting behind closed eyes. Failures, betrayals, moments when she had felt most alone. Each memory lived like trapped fireflies, glinting in her mind's eye before smothering out completely. "Stop! You want to trap me with your lies," she snarled, the light in her hands shimmering like starlight against the encroaching dusk. "I am no one's pawn." But the shadows began weaving a tapestry of her vulnerabilities, wrapping them around her like an exquisite yet deadly garment. Leah struggled against the weight of despair, feeling it squeeze tighter and tighter, like a vice around her heart. "What do you fear most, Leah?" The figure taunted, its voice growing softer, intoxicating like a whisper of dark chocolate. "Your light will only betray you." A shiver cascaded down Leah's spine. She could feel the gnawing doubt that lingered in the corners of her mind. She was all too familiar with the murmurs of self-doubt that crowded her thoughts. Then, across the darkness, she caught a glimmer of movement near the chapel's doorway. Just at the edge of her vision, the silhouette of the woman from earlier flickered to life, a renewed beacon of hope. The realization struck her like a lightning bolt. There were those who believed in her, who had helped her stand tall against the storm. "Stop!" Leah bellowed, arms raised defiantly. "You want to win this battle. I choose to fight." The shadows howled at her defiance, recoiling, and yet a voice from within the depths whispered again, "Can you withstand the pain of sacrifice, Leah? Those who seek the light must be prepared to suffer." The glowing warmth flickered dangerously around her now, wavering like a candle in the wind. She felt her strength flagging, and the shadows pressed closer, their icy grasp nearly overwhelming. "Stay strong, remember your worth." The woman's voice echoed, penetrating the suffocating darkness. Leah grasped onto that thread, pulling it tighter around her. But just as she thought she could fight back, a distance echoed deep inside, a question lingering in the air. What would she have to sacrifice to emerge victorious? With her light flickering like a dying star, Leah faced the darkness, her resolve wavering, just as fierce questions bore down upon her. Would she rise, or would she succumb? A radiant glow flickered, leaving the fate of her journey hanging in the balance, as shadows whispered the answer she feared most. What lay ahead, just beyond the horizon of her light? Only time would tell if she could pierce the veil of shadows, or if despair would finally claim her forever. The shadows pressed in, an unrelenting tide threatening to envelop her. Leah felt the last remnants of warmth slipping away, the light within her dimming. Each flicker was matched by the tightening around her heart. What if she was wrong? What if she was indeed destined to fail? "Your struggle is futile," the figure sneered, slithering closer. The voice was a melody twisted by malice. "That light you cling to? It's just an illusion, a facade to distract from the truth." Leah's breath lodged in her throat. The memories swirled again, sharper this time. Faces of those she had let down, dreams buried beneath the weight of expectations. She clenched her fists, aching for the power she faintly felt coursing through her. "No!" she shouted defiantly, gathering what remained of her strength. "My story isn't over. I refuse to give in." Suddenly, the shadows recoiled slightly, a ripple of uncertainty in their midst. For a heartbeat, Leah thought she might push them back. The incense of hope mingled with fear in the air. The woman's distant voice, a beacon through the darkness, echoed again in Leah's mind, "Remember your worth." And with that, Leah took a hesitant step forward, but the figure laughed, a sound that reverberated with pain and tenderness. "You believe in worth, Leah? You are the sum of your failures. This will be the moment when you realize—" "Shut up," Leah roared, her voice a battle cry slicing through the tension. "I'm not just my failures." The shadows writhed as if stung, and in that moment of clarity, something shifted within her. Instead of recoiling, Leah reached deep for the light. She envisioned others standing with her, people who had shared laughter, warmth, joy, the connections that tied her essence to the world. The very act of thinking about them ignited a spark. The light flickered again, not as a dying ember, but as a rising flame. She held it outwards, pushing against the army of darkness. Each pulse of light fed her determination. With a frenzied urgency, the shadows hissed. You think strength lies in connections? You think you can conquer by holding their hands? The figure lunged forward, but Leah instinctively raised her arms. Light exploded in a brilliant arc, illuminating the chapel's interior. Cracks formed in the darkness, the horror of the shadows briefly exposed as mere smoke, as unreal as her doubts. But their howls of rage spiraled around her, intensifying, clamoring for her attention. Voices of the past ripped through the air, each carrying chilling reminders of the pain she had endured. You'll never be enough, they screamed. You can't escape your past. In that moment, Leah faltered. The weight of their beliefs became a physical force pressing down on her, threatening to crush her spirit. The vision of the woman flickered once more. Was it too late to conquer her darkness? Could her light withstand? And just then, a new sound broke through the soft embrace of a prayer. A whisper. Leah, the voice soothed, soothing like balm on a wound. You are loved. You are seen. You are not alone. The woman's silhouette began to step into the light, revealing more of her strength. Despite the growing shadows, hope flickered faintly, but it was there. Leah felt it surge into her soul, pushing her to stand tall. Reinvigorated, Leah took a deep breath, her resolve recharging. I'm not my fears. I'm a warrior. The walls of shadow began to tremble as the light wrapped around her, a protective cocoon against the darkness. The whispers turned to terrified shrieks, the walls themselves trembling with force. This was it, the final confrontation. Would her light hold steady in the storm of shadows? All the pieces of her heart hung precariously in the balance. As she prepared to unleash that very power, a chilling thought struck her. What if the cost of her victory meant losing everything she held dear? In the face of such uncertainty, Leah drew her breath, determined to find out. What would the shadows reveal about the very essence of her strength? The answers loomed just ahead, and it was time to confront them at last. Leah steadied herself, heart pounding with the rhythm of defiance against the encroaching shadows. The air crackled with a blend of fear and fierce hope, igniting her spirit. This would not be the end. She could feel it deep in her bones, the truth echoing louder than the haunting screams of her past. Let them come, she whispered, determination swelling within her. I want to back down. The shadows twisted and flickered, drawing close as if sensing her renewed courage. They slithered, impatient and hungry, testing the barrier of light she forged. Leah took a step forward, feeling the warmth of connection to everything and everyone she loved, the laughter of friends, the hugs of family. Those memories glimmered, fueling the brightness of her resolve. Look at you, the figure taunted, its voice dripping with mockery. You believe they can save you? You don't understand, Leah. Each moment spent in their embrace is a moment you're tethered to the failure within. No, she screamed, countering the dark conviction, the words spilling from her that carved a path forward. They're my strength. I carry them with me. I'm not alone. The figure recoiled, darkness churning wildly, and for an instant, Leah felt the overwhelming force weaken. Encouraged, she stretched her arms wide, the light cascading around her like a shield. Shadows screeched and hissed, a cacophony of voices converging into a single echo. Face it, Leah. You're not strong. You're desperately clinging to the past. Memories surged, blurring the line between time and reality. Leah felt her chest tighten, but she refused to falter. I know who I am. I know where I've come from. Through the chaos, she saw the woman's silhouette solidify, standing firm beside her. You're not defined by your failures, the woman urged. You are defined by the choices you make moving forward. Choose your light. Clenching her jaw, Leah extended her palm, letting the light burst forth in an explosion of radiant energy. The shadows flinched, retreating as the warmth spread through the chapel, illuminating every guttering corner. But the darkness wasn't done yet. It surged forward, pooling around her ankles like a hungry tide. Pain shot through her, memories of rejection and doubt clawing at her heart, each sharp as glass. You will break. The figure shrieked. You will be consumed. No, Leah shouted back, her voice filled with an intensity that shivered through the darkness. I want to. But doubt crept in, slithering around the edges of her mind. What if this light didn't last? What if she was just prolonging the inevitable? Behind the intimidating wall of darkness, the weight of her failures loomed heavy, reminding her of every single time she felt less than whole. With every flicker of light, Leah felt moments of doubt surfacing. What if, after all, she was just a shadow herself flickering, fading? She danced with the idea, wrestling within her heart. Yet, as the shadows pressed even closer, fingertips of darkness brushing against her skin, Leah tapped into an instinct she never knew existed. A knowledge rooted deep within that came from her connections, her struggles, her growth. Her resolve solidified into steel. I'm not a shadow, she declared, and at that moment, the air shook violently. The darkness howled in fury, its shrieks ripping through the silence. The figure stood before her, eyes burning with menace. Then prove it. An unmistakable ache clenched her stomach. What would that proof cost her? The shadows encircled her like a vice, threatening to crush her spirit. But beneath the turmoil, a spark of courage flickered in her heart, demanding to be unleashed. What if this is just the beginning? She whispered, her voice trembling with hope and fear. With one last deep breath, Leah prepared to face the storm head-on. There was no turning back now. But just as she gathered her strength, a deafening noise erupted, something crumbling far beyond the walls, a sound that startled even the shadows. What had she unleashed? And in that moment of panic, doubt teased at the corners of her mind. What lay on the other side of the light? Would it lead to the answers she sought or unleash a darkness she could never escape? The ground trembled beneath Leah's feet, the chapel quaking as if an unseen giant had awakened from its slumber. Debris rained down, dust dancing like spirits in the flickering light around her. Every shadow seemed to pulse with the energy of her fear, tightening its grip, threatening to swallow her whole. She felt it, then a sudden rush of wind, a sharp gasp in the midst of chaos. The walls trembled, as though the very structure around her was alive and in agony. Leah's heart raced. What had she done? Echoing through the air came desperate murmurs, sounds of anguish, and yet a heartbeat of hope weaved through the noise, vibrant and alive. Stay strong, Leah. The woman's voice shot through the din, a beacon of light amidst the chaos. Keep your light alive. You must push back. The shadows roared defiantly, thick tendrils reaching for Leah with malicious intent. She refused to cower. With every ounce of her being, she pushed the warmth from within, fanning the flames against despair. I will not be broken. I will not be consumed. The shadows ebbed, momentarily faltering, but their rage intensified. Leah could feel them clawing at her, leaning in with palpable hunger. And just when she thought her light might falter, a searing heat surged through her veins, a reminder of every battle she had fought, every tear she had shed, and every moment that had shaped her. What I have to lose now? She shouted defiantly, daring the darkness to mock her resolve. Bring it on. The dark figure that loomed before her twisted with a grimace, eyes narrowing into slits. You truly think this is about strength, Leah? Power? You're nothing without your past. Let overwhelm you. Behind me? I see courage. Leah countered, her voice a clarion call. Memories surged, friends laughing, her mother's embrace, the encouragement of those who had believed in her. The light around her blazed brighter, an inferno igniting, illuminating the shadows that had lingered too long. But as the atmosphere ignited with renewed intensity, a chilling laugh reverberated through the chapel. The figure laughed bitterly. Foolish girl, you still don't understand. Your light is weak against what is coming. Leah felt it, then the tension in the air, like a coiled spring. Something sinister was advancing beyond just the shadows. It was a force beyond her understanding, and it was unrelenting. As she glanced around the chapel, the structure cracked, revealing glimpses of the world beyond, a world bathed in shadow, the chaos twisting reality around her. Then, with a suddenness that stole her breath, the ground beneath her erupted. A massive fissure split the floor, and she could almost feel the very fabric of her reality tearing apart. "No," she gasped. But in the depths of panic, Leah's resolve hardened. The darkness could not win. Not here. Not now. She summoned every ounce of light she could conjure, a radiant embrace carved from unity and hope. It surged around her, illuminating the jagged divide and sending tendrils of warmth into the depths of the gaping chasm. "Hold on, Leah." The woman's voice came again, urgent. "You must not let go. You can cross this divide. Believe." Belief? The word reverberated in her mind. It was always about faith, not just in herself, but in something deeper. The connection to her loved ones, the love that had built her, that transcended the shadows. Yes, she took her first cautious step toward the abyss. The shadows churned violently, shrieks forming a wild cacophony. Would she drown in the void or soar in the light? There was no time to contemplate. Leah could feel the forces converging in a way that made her heart race, and she realized this was the moment everything could change. "Trust," she cried out, her voice merging with the light crashing against the darkness. And in that very moment, a blinding flash erupted. But instead of guiding her forward, the flash held her in place, locked in a moment that teetered between light and dark, forcing her to confront the ultimate truth. Would she take the leap of faith or remain where it felt safe? In that fraught pause, she felt the shadows flickering around her once more, mocking her hesitation, whispering secrets of despair. And as the brightness diminished just as quickly as it had appeared, Leah came face to face with something she never expected to witness. What had she unleashed? What awaited her in the depths of that darkness? Leah stared into the gaping fissure, her breath stuck in her throat. The shadows crawled closer, writhing and twisting, their malevolent whispering a dissonant symphony that clawed at her sanity. Fear washed over her, hot and suffocating, drawing her deeper into the claws of despair. But beyond that darkness, a flicker of something possibility? It was fragile yet persistent. "What is it?" she whispered, eyes darting to the depths of the abyss. Something shimmered, a faint glow pulsating, beckoning her, as if it knew her name. The figure loomed again, the darkness morphing into a twisted smile. "What you see is your past and the burdens you carry, Leah. They've all been placed at your feet, waiting for you." The voice licked through the chapel like venom. "You cannot simply step over them. You must confront your fears." Confront her fears? Adrenaline surged through her veins, igniting memories long buried. Failure, loss, heartbreak. Each moment pulsed like a heartbeat around her as the shadows swayed, synchronized with her every thought. "But I can't go back," Leah shouted defiantly, her voice breaking the thick silence covering her fragile resolve. "Oh, but you already are," the figure hissed, its laughter melding with the cacophony of the shadows. "Your very essence is a tapestry of what you've endured. Accept them, or be devoured." She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. Memories bounced within her like shadows, taunting her resolve. The face of her best friend, slumped in grief. The night she had lost everything, and the darkness had closed in like an iron grip. The guilt and sorrow, always lurking at the edges of her consciousness, now undulating around her like a tidal wave. "No," Leah shouted, anguish rippling through her. "I want to be consumed. Not now." But in that moment, the ground lurched again beneath her feet, as if the chapel itself was alive and wrestling with its own demons. People she had lost flashed before her eyes, their shadows casting long over her heart. The weight of her sorrow was palpable, and the shadow figure seized the opportunity. "Do you feel it? The endless cycle of pain?" Trembling, Leah took a step back, her heart thundering. Her insides felt twisted, a storm swirling. She was teetering. She could either retreat, surrendering to shadows that promised nothing but despair, or she could face the specter of her memories, her past. Face them, Leah. The woman's voice blazed through the noise once more, steady and unwavering. Only then will you find the strength to move forward. With a controlled breath, Leah stepped closer to the edge of the chasm where the faint glow pulsed more fiercely. What if she confronted not only her fears, but the hopes tangled within them? What was lost could still be reclaimed, and in that possibility, perhaps victory awaited. The darkness recoiled, but Leah pressed on, propelling every ounce of her being forward. I refuse to be defined by my past, she declared, her voice rising in defiance. The shadows shrieked, clawing at her, but she pushed through, eyes locked on that pulsating light. In that moment, everything shifted. The darkness around her shrank, shriveling in the presence of her resolve. A heartbeat echoed, not just her own, but a symphony of trust, of belief, of hope. I've welcomed the pain, but now I choose to rise, she cried, feeling the light within her surge. The fissure began to glimmer brighter, the shadows around her writhing violently, struggling to remain. But just as victory flared in her heart, a roar erupted from the depths of the abyss. It was a sound that shook the very foundations of her soul, a mix of rage and hunger, a warning that everything was about to change. No, Leah gasped, heart racing in despair. But she stood firm, staring into the maw of chaos. I won't back down. And with newfound strength, she took a step forward, the light spiraling from her core, illuminating the path ahead. What would emerge from the shadows now? Fingers still clutching at her resolve, Leah braced for what awaited her in that vast unknown. Hope flickered in her heart, but just ahead lay unfathomable danger. What was waiting for her on the other side? And how much more would she have to wrestle with to discover the truth? With the gap narrowing, Leah felt as if she was standing on the knife's edge between light and shadow. The darkness roared, a living entity clawing at her resolve. But Leah, feeling the light surge within her, faced the swirling chaos with courage determined not to retreat. The echoes of the past surged around her, whispering doubts, yet she could feel her spirit growing stronger with each echo. You're not strong enough, they hissed, but her heartbeat told a different story. I am light. I am strength, she shouted, pushing the words through the storm. Each declaration sent sparks flying, igniting the chapel in glowing brilliance, pushing back against the dark curtain that threatened to tear apart her existence. Without warning, the ground beneath Leah trembled violently. She could hear the walls of the chapel creaking, as if the very foundation was reacting to the conflict within her. You cannot prevail, the figure taunted, its form flickering in sync with the shadows that wrapped around her. She could see it now. The shadows were fragments of her own fears, insecurities, and pain. Enough, Leah roared, summoning the strengths of all the connections she had made. The laughter of her friends flooded into her mind. The warmth of her family enveloped her heart. Every moment when someone believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself, blossomed into light. With newfound determination, she stepped closer toward the chasm, heart racing but unwavering. You're nothing but echoes of a past that no longer holds power over me, she declared, feelings of warmth radiating from her core. The shadows recoiled as she took another step, fueled by love and self-acceptance. Face your pain. Embrace it. The woman's voice rang clear, resonating throughout the chapel, urging Leah forward even as the shadows writhed hungrily around her. Only by confronting it can you begin to heal. Leah realized then that the flickering light was not just a shield. It was a part of her, merging her fears and hopes into one. I claim all of me, the light and the dark. And in that moment, Leah launched herself into the abyss. She descended into the chasm. The shadows swarmed, desperate to consume her. Leah imagined herself surrounded by everything she had long avoided, moments of perceived failure, heartache, and loss. But as those memories engulfed her, she breathed in deep. I'm stronger than these shadows, she yelled. Suddenly, the grayness around her began to crack, revealing tiny glimmers of light memories she treasured. Her childhood laughter, the warmth of hugs, the time she had triumphed over seemingly insurmountable odds. "I choose to rise," she shouted, and as she did, each glimmer began to expand, filling the darkness with vibrant color. The voice of the dark figure screeched in pain as the light surged to meet it. "No, this is not the end." But Leah, feeling the strength of unity within her, pressed on. The shadows recoiled, dissolving as her heart pulsed with warmth. Suddenly, she found herself standing on solid ground within the chasm. Light enveloped her, cocooning her in protection and strength. Those echoes of pain began to take shape, transforming into a blend of golden threads, weaving her past into a tapestry of her journey. "That's it, Leah!" The woman cheered, now standing beside her, as vibrant as the dawn. "You've confronted your fears. You've embraced the fullness of who you are." Leah's heart soared as the shadows dissipated, revealing a shimmering golden path stretching into the distance, a path filled with possibilities not yet explored. "You fought brilliantly," the woman smiled, her own light brightening Leah's. "I didn't do it alone," Leah replied softly, tears mingling with joy streaming down her face. The shadows had been a part of her journey, but they no longer defined her. They transformed into lessons learned, wisdom gained, as the path unfurled before her. Leah took a deep, rejuvenating breath. What lies ahead? She wondered aloud, knowing she was prepared for whatever came next. With the woman at her side, Leah stepped forward fully, embracing the journey that awaited her, one filled with light, love, and strength. And in that moment, everything changed. The darkness receded, a mere whisper of memory, while Leah strode steadfast into the light of her new realities. Now, let this be a reminder. Every struggle is a chance to bloom. When you feel like giving up, reach into your depths. You have all that you need. Thank you for being on this journey with Leah. This is just the beginning. Don't let it end here. You need to subscribe now and stay tuned for more incredible stories that can inspire you. Smash that like button now to boost the algorithm and let everyone feel this powerful message. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about Leah's journey and her transformation. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this triumph. They absolutely deserve to feel this motivation. Your support makes a world of difference, and together, we can light up this community.